So I am going to show you different ways to do the exact same thing at the end. So if you might have some tools and you might not have other tools, and different things to match precisely your situation to complete this knife. So the next part of actually making this knife is to glue up the handles. That's what we're aiming for. So I'm going to show you how to do it with a drill press. I'm going to show you how to do it with a hand drill, and I'm going to explain to you precisely how to do it. Okay? And also I'm going to show you my favorite way of doing it. We need to glue up this handle. So that's the next part. Okay? It's still going to be in a little bit of a block form, but the important thing, the front of the handle needs to be shaped, and the pins need to go all the way through the handle and both handle scales, and make sure that's perfect without the pin being skew or something like that. For actually gluing up this knife, you're going to need some sort of clamps. I have these nice tall craft clamps for actually clamping stuff. You can also use a G-clamp, you can also use a vise. You're just going to, when you're going to be using a vise, you're gonna have to glue up the knife like that, and basically hold on to a long section of the handle. But I would prefer you rather using G-clamps, because then you can adjust how tight it is. Or these clamps, they don't clamp really hard, it's quite soft actually. They still clamp hard, and the bigger it goes open, the more it has clamping power. Okay, some tape, you can use masking tape, painter's tape. I have also this sort of blue tape, it can also work. And obviously your knife handle. Okay, you're going to need epoxy. So this is the specific epoxy that I'm now going to be using. To glue up the knife, you're going to need a couple of things. One, tape. Okay, it could be painter's tape, it could be masking tape, theoretically it could be sellotape, but I've never tested on that, but it would be the same concept. So basically the tape is just going to be taped onto your table like so, demonstrated now here on this table. So just put 3 strips over here. So that's for actual glue, when we're going to glue up, to come on there, and then afterwards you can just rip off the tape without actually having any glue or residue on your table. That's a cool trick. Okay, gonna need actual glue to glue up the handle. The longer time your glue is going to take to set, okay, it's going to be more time you actually have to finish and do small adjustments with the actual knife to change things as you need to. And this is the specific brand of glue that I am now using. Okay, there are many different varieties of glues that you can use, but this is probably the one that's most common to find and easy to find. Okay, gonna need some sort of clamp. You can use these clamps by Tallcraft. So the wider it opens, the more squishing power it has. It doesn't squish that hard, which you want something to squish hard, but not to squish your knife dead. Or if you need to glue up, you can use a good old trusty G-clamp. So literally just opening it and twisting it, but don't twist to like kill the handle. Just twist lightly and then nice and tight, not too tight, when you're going to be gluing up. Okay, and then it's quite obvious that you're going to need a knife and actual handles. Okay, that's all you're going to be needed. And then I'll show you how to glue up in due time without stressing or nothing. So this is a 2-part epoxy actually, and usually most of the epoxies that I use for the knives are, well, all of them are basically a resin and a hardener. Okay, so let's see. Quick set clear. One of them is the resin and one of them is the hardener, but I'm not sure which one is. It doesn't really matter. So it's just a 50-50 mix, specifically this one, and I'll now glue it up and just get a little stick to actually move the glue, make sure everything is nice and mixed. Got a ice cream stick here. You can literally use it, basically anything, but you can theoretically use like a little piece of steel wire, just a tad thicker than this. This is really thin. Also, it's just to basically mix the glue. And the cool thing about this ice cream stick, it has a flat part. So when you're going to actually be mixing the glue and spreading the glue, you can go flat against all the parts of your knife and mix it easily like that. Okay, so I'm gonna start actually mixing up this glue and gluing up the handle. I'm going to do this as quickly as possible, but I'm gonna show you while I actually do it. Okay, so not going to be a lot of explaining because I need to move quickly at the one side, and so I think that's the hardener. Anyway, and it's not that complicated. Just make sure you have the same amount. Okay. Then the most important part actually of this glue is making sure that you mix it equally, the same amount of glue you put and hardener, 50-50, and mixing it thoroughly. Otherwise you'll not have as good results or any good results. Okay, then what I do is usually before I glue up, just do a dry fitment. So put the knife in there, make sure everything is fine, you're happy with absolutely everything, because while you glue up you can't really fix nothing, you are basically doomed. I usually put glue on the actual handle and not on the knife tang, unless for some reason I do, which I usually don't. Okay, just put enough glue everywhere so the glue reaches all parts of your actual handle. I rather have too much glue than too little glue. Okay, you have marked which side is which and where goes what. Just put a little dab of glue on your pen to make sure there's glue inside of the hole. There we go, glue comes out. Happy with that. A little blob there. Cool, glue comes out on the other side, as you guys can see. Put the knife in there in the right holes. Cool. Okay, don't try and get your fingers full of glue. Okay, that's just unnecessary. I'm gonna put that little bit of an angle, glue up all the glue, all the excess glue. Just going to scoop it and spread it. Oops, sorry, put a little bit on my finger. You can remove the glue by washing your hands in nice warm water and sunlight liquid, or acetone. Probably washing your hands with soap and acetone would probably be the best choice, but yeah. Okay, there's glue over the holes of my pins, so when I go actually to put in the pins, it's going to also squish glue through. There we go, just feel and move it until it goes through. Okay, you see there's glue on both sides. Very nice. There's glue everywhere. That's a good thing. Try not get your clamps full of glue. Clamp it on. For reference, when you're going to be using a G-clamp, just tighten it until it touches. Just give it about enough tighten that a small toddler can probably get it loose. So it's not squishing it dead, but it's actually giving enough pressure to hold the knife where you want it. Okay, and I am happy. The only problem I can physically see is there, my tape. It looks almost as if it's under my actual handle. That's not a good thing. So this is what I'm talking about. This is why I do dry fitment beforehand, to actually see if these things would be a problem. Okay. Oh, I can move the camera actually, that you guys can see better. Ah, sorry. Probably couldn't see a lot of things, but yeah. Okay, you can take acetone over here and a little bit of toilet paper to clean up things around the knife, but the front of the knife, don't clean that up. Where the glue is here, actually on the knife, don't clean that up. I have a cool trick that I'm going to use to remove that glue seamlessly, otherwise you get streaks of where the glue comes off there. Okay, I'm going to remove this tape, because this tape is probably going to be a problem if it comes under the handle. We don't want that, because then I put basically a piece of tape between my handle of the knife and actually the actual handles that's on the knife, and I don't want that. I want to glue handle to knife, not handle to tape. Just be careful, make sure your hands are not full of glue when you're actually going to touch your knife, because it's going to not be very nice, not very pleasant to remove it, the glue. So I'm just moving my hands down, touching the tape at all times. Now I'm going to actually touch the handle. I rather put the handle full of glue than the actual blade, because that's way better, smart idea. And you can see, okay, cool. My knife is going to sit like that. All the excess glue is going to drip on my actual tape. My tape is going to be removed afterwards and thrown away instead of some residue on my table. The knife is now glued up, okay, and ready. So there we go, looking good so far on both sides. And what we're gonna do is, when we glued up, there was a little bit, obviously because we squished the scales to the actual knife, there's a little bit of glue that seeped out all the way around, okay? And to remove that glue, because these parts of the knife, where my pointer finger is now, okay, we are going to remove material there. So this is not a problem, the glue that's seeping out there. The only problem is the glue that's seeping out at the front, because we're not going to remove material. As I said, this part of the knife is actually done sanded. We're not going to come back to this part. So I made a little tool. It's a cool trick. So this is a small little brass rod, okay, and that's literally just been spun with a drill in circles and just sanded basically to a sharp point. You can also use a very sharp needle. This specifically, you can use a little piece of steel so that you make a nice sharp point with. It's not very complex. It's not hard to do. So you just take the little stabby thingy, and obviously watch out for your finger. Then if it slips, don't let it go into your finger. And then you're going to press it under the glue against the handle here, and then, okay, let me see if you guys can see. It's going to lift up. So I'm going to slowly work, but you can now see that little part there, it's actually lifting up the last piece of glue there. And all I'm going to do, just work my way with, and you can already see this little flap, and there it's clean, okay, there where I already went, okay. And we're just going to move all the way, get all that done. This little part is now going to be thrown away, and now it's clean over there. Gonna go back, make sure everything is clean over here, and do the other side. Moving on to the actual bastard file. Same file, we are going to remove material on this actual knife until it touches the metal, this part, the metal of the knife. So the metal has a nice outline of where the handle needs to be, and we're going to remove material until we get there. So you're going to remove some wood and some of this glue. And when you're starting to touch the metal, I'm going to turn it around, do the same on this side. Because this under part is actually rounded, you might need a round file as the one that we used previously in this video in the other videos to grind sand in the sponge lines. Okay, you can use the same concept. This is another file you can use there. There's a little bit bigger rounding. You can use the other smaller rounding, and then just when you're going to be filing, just make sure that you actually don't concentrate on just one point, because then you're going to struggle. Move the file around from the left to the right or right to left to make sure you get a nice consistent all the way through, and then remove the bulk of the material. If you're done with that, the handle needs to be flat and needs to be square and everything to the actual knife. So this scale is a tad little bit smaller than this scale. Okay, so we need to measure that and make sure that the other side, that both scales, both of them, are the same size all the way through. So you mark at the front of the knife, this space. Make sure you transfer this space there with a koki or so. You can even use a vineyard. Mark this one, mark there, mark, and then use the file, and you can come in here, open it up, close it up, and then also flatten this pin first like that. You can tape up this blade and put a G-clamp against the table, and then it's very easy, because then you can work 360 degrees all the way around this actual knife. So if you clamp up this blade, it's going to be stuck to the table, but then this part of the handle is going to be floating. So then you can come in sides, you can come in flat, and that's going to make it a lot easier also to actually remove the material that way. The knife is now all around, all the way through, it's touching the steel. Okay, looking nice and pretty there. Then I squared up the handles, so I just made sure I measured on both sides that the handle is both sides the same thickness, front, back, and we're just going to go for a nice simple handle shape. Nothing crazy. Okay, so gonna take our koki, nice thin koki, and what we're going to do is we're going to mark out lines that are going to come close to the actual piece of steel over here. We're not gonna touch the piece of steel, okay, but close, at least a little bit less than a half a centimeter. So that's like a half a centimeter over there space, so we're gonna go right approximately right there. Okay, so I'm gonna put the knife down on something real flat, and then just run the koki all the way through. Okay, now you can see there's a clear line there. I'm gonna flip the knife over to the other side, and I'm also going to at the same time do the back of the knife and flip it over and do this side of the knife. So all the way through it's going to be the same thickness there. Now we need to mark out lines on this part of the actual knife. So I'm just going to use something to actually put under the knife and let it rest a little bit higher, because I want a space bigger than that. Okay, make sure that the line that you're marking not going past the middle, because your pins are now in the middle, nothing past the middle, then it's not going to work out very nicely. And I'm just going to curve the knife as this actual knife is curving. So as I come to the back, gonna curve it, then I've got a line. Flip the knife over, same height, nothing has changed. Okay, just going to move it and slide the knife. Okay, then for this portion of the knife, if you're going to use the same method, okay, I'm quickly going to show you. Because this bottom part of the knife is pressing down on this table, okay, you are literally just going to get that little line. That's not going to help you any sense. So I'm going to remove that because we want the same distance on that side as on this side. So I'm going to move the knife over to the edge of the actual table, okay, and remove the koki over. So now when I mark, the knife is going to rest on the edge of this table, and I can literally just pitch the knife, make sure it touches, and it would compensate for all the dips and everything of this actual table. And then I have my lines there. Just gonna flip it over to the other side of the knife. So put the koki down, same concept, and moving it along the edge of this table all the way. Cool. Now we have lines there and there. Now what we're going to do is connect these lines with a straight line. Same way I've showed you, just with the file. Just connect both of these lines, and then after that I'll show you how we are going to be rounding actually out this handle to make it nice and comfy. When the handle is now actually over the table, you can come in and under all the parts of the actual handle, easily accessible without something being in your way. So I would recommend putting the two pieces of leather that are provided over the actual knife, so your knife does not get hurt, and then your handle, when you're actually working on it, let it be over the table, so you can easily work everywhere with enough space. When you're actually going to be filing, that there is actually space for you to come in here and do the angles and everything that you need to. So now that we have like angles and we're happy, we don't touch the pins and everything, we're going to take in our flat file on this side. I'll use the flat file and the round file. So the flat file works good in mostly this part, but it struggles here a little bit here in this curve. Okay, and just come over here and do a nice tilt, so it actually goes all the way around, and then you break these sharp corners that we actually created now. Okay, and then the knife handle is going to be a lot more comfortable. But here at this part of the actual handle, it's still flat, as you guys can see, but we don't want to go all the way, so we're going to not touch the steel. Okay, we're gonna remove material actually off the handle. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in for you that you can see easier. So when we're going to come in with the file, we're going to address this sharp angle where my thumb is now at, here. Okay, we're going to break that corner that is not that rough, not that bad on your actual fingers, nice and consistent. And then you can go in phases. So I still need to remove the material by moving the file in this direction, okay, but if I move the file in this way as I go while tilting, I'll get nice rounding while still actually filing. So I'll start steep and I'll curve this way, moving that way while filing down. So here we go. So just slowly, and then you create a little bit of a radius. So that's a small radius, not not as sharp as this. This is like 90 degrees. This is nice and rounded. So just go there until you are happy and it's still your liking, this filing. Just go there and flatten it out. So I start at a steep angle going down, and then I flatten as I go while moving the file actually, so I can create this nice rounding in this entire length of the actual blade. And I need to remove material by actually pushing down the file. So I'm gonna go once more and show you. There we go. That's nice, comfortable rounding. Gonna go a little bit more to make sure there's no sharp corners, no parts of it. And then the flat file. So this is a 3-faced file. There's 3 flat faces, but you can still use it's a triangle. So you can still use this flat file at all these parts, but where this blade starts curving in again, okay, you're gonna come in with a round file again. Otherwise it's gonna make a sharp corner. So I'm gonna demonstrate that. So it's now starting to round out there, but here I'm leaving a little bit of space. So I can come in with a round file, nice and easily, slowly make sure what I am doing is right, and then removing that small little bit of material. And the back of the knife is real easy, super duper easy. I'll move the camera that you can see, okay. And then the back of the actual handle, just a flat file is going to work best here. So we come in, same concept, just going to go in this direction. So you can do all shorter strokes, all longer strokes. I prefer longer strokes, then it's easier to get it nice and consistent over a bigger length of your actual handle. Flattening it out and then going over this top, rounding, making sure that's also round. So I'm going to start here and go into that. Okay, and then I will proceed with the actual round file from here and go back. And that's how you round out this handle to make it nice and comfy. Okay, this is a piece of sanding paper. It's great. It has a lot of uses. It's like actual paper. I know it's in the name. It might sound quite obvious, but remember, when you're going to be doing different parts of the knife making, okay, use everything to your advantage as the sanding paper. So as you guys can see, it's flopping around, okay. That means when you are going to do the handle, you can, for instance, use this to your advantage where you're going to might be struggling with rounding it out with a file. You could rather use a piece of the sanding paper because it bends so easily. You can take it to a piece of sanding paper, wrap it around like this, and then move back and forth with nice long strokes and actually round out, because it's going to fold over your actual piece of steel. So I'll show you now. Here's the handle, okay, here's a piece of sanding paper, just nice and loose, and it easily comes over this piece of knife and folds over, and I can easily remove material and round out this entire knife nice and equally while actually removing scratches, because remember, your file is very coarse, okay. The sanding paper is as coarse as you choose the piece of sanding paper, so it rounds out all those parts and removes scratches as long as you go up in grids. But I would recommend starting at the rougher grid to actually round out, and then as you can now see, it's actually starting to take shape. Cool, just remove all of that excess stuff, and there you got a nice rounding for yourself at this knife.